Cheers, y'all.
Well.
That sounds like a party.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast and video extravaganza known internationally
Hi, Mom.
as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. Adam, I need a tiny bit more mic if I could. No, not headphones, but mic. Show number 270 is here, and we welcome back a couple of our cocktail experts, and we're not going to talk cocktails. We're going to talk beer instead, which is pretty cool because one of the things that all of my favorite cocktail bars have in common is a very well curated beer selection.
That makes a big difference.
It really does, because sometimes you just, sometimes you want, something outrageous and different in a cocktail. Sometimes you just want a really, really good beer.
Yep. Simple beer. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm thrilled that we're going to be talking not cocktails but beers today. Plus, we're going to tell you how to keep your suit fresh after smoking a cigar.
Oh,
nice. So this is good practical information here on the show today. A lot of things going on. We will be tasting now. These guys have brought beers.
We did,
and I've already peeked at some of your selections, and they're awesome and interesting. So excited about that. Plus, we had several that we had set aside for the show today. So we'll just taste a whole lot of different beers today.
It's going to be a very beer-centric show.
It'll be a very beer-oriented show. I like it. From DuClaw Brewing Company, and let me just say this. Occasionally, a beer earns purchase, or in this case, a spot on the show, by its name alone.
I like DuClaw anyway.
Well, DuClaw is, that's a great name for a brewery. But when they released a glittered sour ale called Unicorn Farts, I'm like,
oh, good God.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in. You got to try that. It's either going to be disgusting or it's going to be wonderful. It's one of the two, right?
And either way, it's Unicorn Farts.
Either way, it's Unicorn Farts, exactly. So, DuClaw is a little bit eclectic as a brewery. They're out of Baltimore, Maryland, and we'll be trying it's a glittered sour ale. So my understanding, and I haven't had this, my understanding is there's actual glitter in the beer. There's edible glitter.
Yeah, edible glitter. This has happened before. Eureka Heights put one on a few years ago.
That's right, I remember that.
There's a few others. I can't remember. There's been a few around here that have done glittery beers. I think Eighth Wonder did one.
Yeah, if you think about it, glittered beer would be the perfect beer to serve at strip clubs. Because not only would your
then you can blame it on the beer instead.
Exactly. You get home and she says, "Honey, what's all that glitter on your shirt? Where you been?" It was the glittered beer. It was the Unicorn Farts.
Spilled a little bit.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Everyone's walking out here looking like they got glittered lip gloss on.
From one of my very favorite breweries in the world, out of Broussard, Louisiana, Parish Brewing Company. I love those people. They're masters of their craft, and their craft has produced something called Braincake. It's a double IPA that
I haven't seen that
we'll be tasting today. Yep, brand new. And another very creative brewery, Oddside Ales, out of Grand Haven, Michigan.
We just had Hazel's Nuts a few weeks ago, and I'm still buying that when I find it.
All right,
it's amazing.
So we're going to see how this one stacks up, because this one's called
names right now.
this one's called Imperial Mayan, and it is a bourbon barrel aged Imperial Stout. So we'll be excited about sampling all of that. Plus, a couple of things to tell you about in the world of cigars and cocktails. We'll have and spirits. We'll have new cigars for you to watch for. CI Cigars International, the big mail order company, they've built several mega super cigar stores around the country.
Yeah, a friend of mine lives up in the Dallas Fort Worth area. Sends me pictures every once in a while just to make me jealous.
All right, well,
it's apparently enormous.
It's about to be a shorter drive for you because they're building a new one in San Antonio. So we'll have a few details on that. Plus, as promised, how to keep your suit fresh.
We're going to have to take your car since you have the convertible.
Okay,
so
fair
we
enough.
can smoke cigars on the way to go get cigars.
The weather is so nice today. I had the top down on the way in, but I was going to smoke a cigar, but it's always that thing where the drive is too short and you still got half of a great cigar, and you're like, oh, man. So I didn't light one up. But anyway, we'll tell you how to keep your suit fresh after smoking a cigar. And the most popular segment on the program returns once again today, and that is something we call Drinking News.
Now, normally I'd put a little ukulele stinger in there, but I forgot my ukulele today.
Well, it happens.
We're going to resort to other methods.
It happens. I figure, no one continuously travels with the ukulele. So occasionally it's going to get left
Occasionally
at home.
it happens.
Yeah. So, well, fortunately, one of our other cocktail experts on the show is also a creator of music from time to time, and Chris Morris has created an opener for Drinking News for us that we've used a few times. We'll do that
Pretty
again
amazing.
today. Yeah,
And it's worth pulling out once in a while.
Definitely worth it. So we'll do that, and our Drinking News teaser headline today is "Just Put Your Leaves Together and Blow."
I have no idea what to say about that.
Paraphrasing, who was that? Who was the actress that said, "Put your lips together and blow"? Was one of the famous old time, Mae West or somebody like that.
that happened to be in a strip club.
It probably was. Probably was. So it's a paraphrase, obviously, of that. So Peter Clifton is here. Peter, wow, it's exciting to have you guys back on the show today.
Thank you.
And I'm so stoked about everything that is beginning to happen in the bar and restaurant world, because people are beginning to go out again, and it's bringing the much needed life back into the bar and restaurant experience. But I understand, am I correct, that Ritual is no more? Is that true?
It is no more.
So something is rising out of the ashes of Ritual, is it not?
Absolutely. It's the Korean barbecue joint that's rising out called Mapojeong.
Say it again.
Mapojeong.
Mapojeong?
So Mapojeung.
Mapojeong. And it's Korean barbecue.
Korean barbecue.
I love Korean barbecue. It's just
It's
so flavorful. Wow. Well, I can't wait to come and try it. Ritual was one of my absolute favorite restaurants in the city. So
Thank you.
I'm stoked to try what is new. Now, what about the bar? You still got
You brought the bar inside the Korean
No,
restaurant?
the Ready Room?
Ready Room?
Yeah.
And this guy's been...
Things are still
spearheading.
jamming over there.
Still going. We're
All
still
right.
doing the appointments. We're booking out a week and a half out now for shows. We're doing
That's great.
Thursdays jam sessions, still new cocktails every week. We're just going strong on it.
That is so great. And is it the type of thing where I can just decide to go and get in, or has it gotten so busy I need to?
On Wednesday and Thursday, you can just walk on in.
Yeah.
Especially on Thursdays from 8:30 to 10:30. It's when we have for what we call locals, the jam off. Musicians will show up and they'll just kind of
Ian, you should
interplace
go
each
for
other.
that, man.
Yeah.
Face off against some
Go face off.
some fellow
Yeah, man,
musicians.
just bring your
The
ukulele and go
guitar
hard.
battle. The ukulele battle.
Do
would
the
be awesome.
ukulele, man. That would be awesome. There's something just wonderful about
We'll
the
put
ukulele.
unicorn parts on special.
There you go.
That'll be perfect. That'll be perfect. And so you're still concocting new cocktails all the time,
Absolutely.
I would assume?
Yeah, we try to do them every week.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'll let one or two slide for 2 weeks just in case how popular they are, but we still try to keep it going strong.
Well, that's awesome, because you had some of the most creative cocktails I've ever seen there. And I've been
Thank
to
you.
a few of these,
You have?
upscale cocktail places where they, only use guava juice that was fresh squeezed in, Brazil and brought over in on a bicycle,
Unmarked plane.
Yeah, right, exactly. But it's not necessarily how unique the ingredients are, to me, as it is in how well everything comes together in the
Right,
cocktail.
what you do with it, the balance.
Yeah, exactly. So you always had great stuff on the menu, and I haven't been back since before the pandemic, so I am overdue. We'll be
Yes, please do.
We'll be there to visit very soon. Well, for the second week in a row, and it works out great because we have such a beer-centric show today, I have brought a mystery beer. So I'm going to excuse myself for a moment. You guys can talk
Why don't
among
I
yourself.
go ahead and give my cigar review?
Oh, that's perfect.
While you're doing that, because everyone's going to be looking at me anyway.
Right, or at the pictures of the cigar.
Or at the pictures of the cigars,
Yeah,
correct.
so, okay, good. So, Ian, did you smoke anything interesting this
I
week?
did. It's funny you mentioned
Why
that.
don't you tell us about
I
it?
wandered by the Casa de Monte Cristo this morning and wandered around through there. I did pick up an extra of the 1835 anniversary because, damn, that's a good
Because
cigar.
that's like the greatest cigar of all time.
Pretty amazing.
Oh, my God.
And it's expensive, but I picked up another one anyway. But I also, at the same time, wandered over to the Crown Heads portion of one of the shelves and found a J.D. Howard Reserve Lancero. This is a 6x46. I haven't had this one before. And I do love Crown Heads. I haven't found anything Crown Heads that I haven't really enjoyed. So this one started off with Brazilian, how do I say this?
Arapaho?
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 No, it's
I
a
learned that from
Brazilian
hip-hop.
Arapiraca. Arapirica.
I'll go with it.
Yeah, something like that. Wrapper, Arapirica, Arapirica wrapper. The Sumatran binder and Nicaraguan filler. The appearance of the cigar, ruddy brown, kind of dark, but some reddishness to it. Very oily wrapper, pigtail cap. Rustic and lumpy is the best way I can say that this cigar looks. It's actually not a bad looking cigar, but it's not like your super sleek, super smooth looking cigar. And it looks interesting. Inconsistent firmness all the way through there. It's a little weird because of the lumpiness. There's some softer spots and some firmer spots. The pre-light sniff on this, I got a lot of barnyard, a lot of sweet coffee and brownie at the foot of the cigar. The wrapper smelled just very barnyard, very fragrant wrapper. The pre-light draw on this, I used a clip. It had a medium draw on it, a little bit tight, but not too bad. I figured that might open up a little later in the cigar. I got some creamy, sweet coffee flavors on there, tangy leather on the lips, cedar and cinnamon, a little cayenne spice. There's definitely a spiciness to this particular cigar. So if you're looking for smooth and sweet with no spicy, this is not the cigar for you. I lit it up. I got an initial blast of pepper and spices, tangy leather, nuttiness. The retrohale on the initial light is very peppery and cedar, almost to the point of burning the nose hairs a little bit. It was pretty strong retrohale. The first third of this, spicy pepper and spices with underlying sweet brownie batter and nutty flavors. It was interesting because it's a very spicy cigar, but it has this underlying sweetness and that brownie flavor all the way through there. It was really, really nice. The other flavors that came through, coffee and mocha wrapped in leather and fresh earth, finished with cinnamon. Retrohale is warm oaky notes and pepper. Pepper is a theme on this cigar.
I'm getting that, yes.
Warm oaky notes and pepper. Solid ash, great burn. The second third of this, spices begin to blend into a spicy sweet brownie flavor surrounded by cedar and leather. Coffee and cinnamon are background notes at this point, followed by a dark fruit kind of vibe. The retrohale is big cedar with pepper. That's surprising, right? And a hint of coffee. Solid ash, great burn. The last third on this, spices have settled into a sweet, spicy, woody blend of all the aforementioned flavors. It didn't really develop into anything else. They just all kind of settled in. You know how like sometimes the lasagna is just better the second day?
Oh, totally.
You know,
yeah,
like
totally.
because they've all kind of blended in. Well, this is, by the time you get to the last third of the cigar, all these flavors have coalesced into this wonderful thing. This is definitely a full-strength cigar. It's probably in the earlier side of full strength rather than, the bigger side of full strength. It's not like a chisel or one of those, but it's definitely full strength. Retrohale is cedar and mocha backed by pepper and cinnamon, just like a bit before. Still a hint of coffee. Solid ash, perfect burn. This cigar cost me $9.25. Mm-hmm. It's not a big cigar, but it's not exactly a small cigar, and it is a Lancero, which tends to be a little more expensive a lot of times for that size.
I think they're harder to roll.
Yeah, I think they take a little more skill to roll. I enjoyed it. It smoked a long time. It smoked for a little over an hour actually for a 6x46 cigar. That's a pretty long smoke. It never got too hot, never got too cold, those kind of things. I gave it a solid 5. You get exactly what you're paying for with this, and Crown Heads does it again. Good job.
I like Crown Heads. They're very consistent.
Solid 5, just so you know, is a good score, as our scale goes from 1 to 10, and 5 is you get exactly what you pay for.
Now, I will admit, I have very basic cocktail skills and even less skills in the kitchen. But Ian said something in that little tasting review there that I thought would be a great idea. If I saw it on a menu at a restaurant, I would totally order it.
Oh, absolutely.
And that would be day-old lasagna or second-day lasagna.
I thought you were going brownie.
Yeah, no, well, that too. But second-day lasagna.
I thought sweet, spicy brownie would
well,
be.
that's good, too. I'd order that.
I just don't know how the health department would look on that.
Oh, well, that's true. Well, it wouldn't be that you left it sitting out for a day. You would put it into the refrigerator, and then the next day you warm it all. But it is true, man. Lasagna is... even a great lasagna is almost always better the next day, and I don't know why that is.
Well, it's just like gumbo. Like,
The
you
flavors
let all
marry,
the
huh?
flavors, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Well, gentlemen, I have poured each of you a sample of our mystery beer here, and I'm not going to tell you anything about it until we do some tasting and reveal our initial thoughts. And I have not tasted this, so it's a mystery to me as well. So
It smells hoppy.
by the way, be glad you weren't here last week, because last week's mystery beer was one of the worst things we've ever tasted.
Not good.
Okay,
It was
so-
a soul chalada or chalada. I don't know whether you give it a sh or a cha, but yeah, it was just terrible. And the thing that happened to it as it sat in the cup and warmed up is it bubbled over a little bit. We actually have a picture of it from last week. I don't know if that's something Adam can pull up easily and
Had
post
this
or not.
reddish tint. It looked like the wound.
It looked like, you know what it looked like? It was if you've made spaghetti and then
three-day-old
you've
lasagna.
put water and dish detergent into the pot to soak and left it in the sink. It had that sort of reddish, sickly look to the bubbles.
That's what I call
it.
second
And now
day
that we're
lasagna.
fully appetized,
Second day lasagna, yeah. Yeah, now that we're fully appetized, let's
So
see.
I'm just going by nose. I haven't tried this yet, but it is incredibly hoppy, and there's
Yeah.
a dank,
little sour note.
a very dank kind of thing going on the end of it.
Now it's interesting on the palate, because I was expecting more hoppy and dank, and instead I'm getting kind of like a baking spice and a little bit of.
I could be going on a limb, but I'm going to say Mosaic or Citra hops are going to be used in this. I
Very-
could be going on a limb.
Very
It would be
possibly.
Citra. It might be more
Yeah.
on the Mosaic. It's
It
very earthy.
has almost a tomatoey acidity. It could be because we're talking about the enchilada so much, but it has almost a
Lasagna enchiladas, boy.
enchilada beer.
It's got a different kind of hop bitter on the finish than like an IPA, but that could just be from the kind of hops.
There's not a lot of flavor up front on this, really. It kind of rolls back, and then there's like almost a hint, like
It waters out.
hey, here's a little bit of malt, but not enough to really grab a hold of, and then it goes out into this citrusy.
I get pepper.
You get pepper.
Yeah.
So you're kind of making a face. Do you dislike it?
It's right on the center of your tongue, like after it dries out.
Yes,
I like it.
totally. You do or don't?
I don't.
Don't? What about you guys?
I mean, if it was around, and the pandemic hit again, I'd drink it.
I don't think I'm
I got
digging
less
this.
choosy about beer during the pandemic
on
too. I know
blind
what you mean.
tasting. I don't know that I'm liking this all that much.
Yeah,
I
what
will
do you
say
think?
it needs to be more round. It just dies out at the end, becomes flabby and watery to me.
All
Is
right.
this
Let me-
is this something that I've had many, many times?
I don't think so. I don't think you've had this at all.
Because
And it tastes a
I'm not recognizing it.
It was definitely new to me. What you guys just had is Carbach's free and easy non-alcoholic
That's what it is.
IPA.
Okay.
So, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to do it as a mystery beer, because I didn't want to tell you up front that it was alcohol free.
I get a little of the pepper you were talking about on the tip of my tongue after we're done
Yeah.
tasting that.
That's probably from the hops itself.
They call it a non-alcoholic malt beverage with natural flavors. Contains less than 0.5% alcohol by volume.
Oh, I thought you were going to say less than 0.5% flavor.
No, now, all right. So now that you know it's a non-alcoholic beer,
I wouldn't
Does
have
that-
penned it as a non-alcoholic beer. I would not have picked up on that, but the flavor profile is just flat across the front, a little washy kind of hint of malt,
Well,
and then
non-alcoholic beers are a big growth segment in the industry right now. In fact, from what I've been reading,
some people
the
just
seltzer
love to pee.
the seltzer thing has kind of leveled off. It's still popular, but it's leveled off. And seltzer apparently kind of ate into the market share for cider quite a bit and beer somewhat. But now I think you're going to see almost every major brewery now releasing some kind of a non-alcoholic beer. And I've seen articles. In fact, I've got one we could even look at today if we want to. That's 10 alcoholic beers that I think. What's it called? 10 alcoholic beers that don't suck. Hang on a second. Let me. 10 non-alcoholic beers as good as the real thing is the title of the article. So we might take a look at that too. But I thought it'd be interesting to try. I thought briefly about putting together a show where we do a non-alcoholic beer blind taste test, but where's the fun in that?
Yeah, right.
You know, that'd be
As long as we're chasing non-alcoholic beer with shots.
we'd be looking at
That's where we're at.
See if the placebo effect goes in hand.
we'd be looking at the numbers for the show. It's like, I don't understand. Last week we had tons of listeners. This week it's like almost nobody. You know? So anyway, but I thought it'd be fun to throw that in. I didn't think it was bad. And in fact, knowing that it's a non-alcoholic beer, I actually like it better, simply because if I were in the position that, I needed to be the designated driver or whatever, I'd be looking. At least it has some flavor to it, which a lot of the non-alcoholic beers either have, I feel like, no flavor, or they do have flavor and I really don't like it.
I feel like that would have been better. Probably would have had a little bit more flavor if you just did a little bit more, like a dry hop, 15 minutes of something that's a little bit more mellow to kind of give you a little bit more of that aroma, a little bit more of that flavor. Maybe it would be a little bit better.
It seems like they're going for let's put some hops in there and make it so that, like, because on the nose, it's very hoppy, very hoppy and
Right, especially on the nose.
dank on the
Yeah.
nose. So at least you're getting, like, if you like hoppy ales, that's something that might satisfy your non-alcoholic niche.
I would put this challenge out to those who are listening to the show, because we have listeners from all over the country and all over the world who may have had a chance to sample something that's sort of local to there. Like this one, this is Carbach. I'm guessing you probably can only get it in Texas, even though they are available a little bit outside of Texas. They're
I
primarily
think there's a
in
few
Texas.
states outside of Texas.
Yeah,
for
but
sure.
but I'm guessing that you're not going to be able to find this in Michigan. So but there might be other things, like does Bell's make a good non-alcoholic beer, for example?
I don't know.
So if you've tried one and liked it, wherever it came from, please let us know in the show notes or email us. So, all right, let's take a break. We got some serious beer tasting to do, and now that this one's out of the way, bring on the alcohol.
I'm down for that.
Yeah. So
Now it's easy in free time.
So we'll jump into the unicorn farts in the next segment, and you guys maybe want to suggest one of the beers that you brought along to do in the next segment as well. So
All right.
so our guests are here at show number 270, and this is Smokin' and Toastin', all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We will be right back.
Good things.
I got a question. Did you work on your radio voice?
Welcome back. It's Smokin' and Toastin', this program all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And we are on show number 270, which I don't know if you
That's
mentioned
halfway to
this.
300,
Yes,
yeah.
it certainly is. So that's pretty exciting. So I mentioned Cigars International, CI Super Soar, coming to San Antonio. I know we have a lot of Texas listeners, so I'll just mention that it's opening in April of this year. So road trip, don't you think?
Road trip.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's plan it.
Definitely in the convertible, so we can smoke cigars both ways.
Both ways, absolutely. Yeah. So, in fact, I have a whole section in my humidor now for top-down cigars.
Nice.
Not quite as complex.
Not quite a lawnmower.
Not quite a lawnmower. Not quite as complex. Exactly. Okay. So that's good. I have some Gilberto Olivas in there, and I have a few of those. What are the ones I know you the factory smokes?
The factory
Yeah,
smoke
see,
Maduro
those are
is
great.
like my go-to lawnmower
Those are
right
great.
now.
Yeah. So anyway, if you were in the Texas area, it might be worth a road trip to San Antonio, which is a pretty fun city to go to. Oh, and wanted to mention this: we lost a great from the cigar industry this week. Carlos Torano Sr. Passed away, and he was one of those guys that learned how to. Learned how to roll cigars in Cuba, and then, when they left Cuba, came over and did his thing and really set up the Torano family and the Torano brand, and he passed away at 78 years old. So the cigar industry lost a good one. I see you've turned the unicorn farts upside down.
Yes. Well, I was reading on the side of this can. It says, sparkles may settle, swirl, or gently invert before pouring.
Okay.
He's trying to get the glitter going.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make sure it's glittery for all.
That sounds like a good plan. Why don't you go ahead and open that baby up if you think you're ready.
I don't want anyone to go, but he got more glitters than me.
This is what it sounds like when unicorns fart. Apparently, is that sound right there? So we'll be. I'm really.
That was almost a Prince kind of thing.
That's what I was going with that.
I didn't even think of that, but that's good. That's good.
This is what it sounds like.
And almost as weird as when doves cry, right? You know.
Oh, doves cry when unicorns fart, man.
Apparently so, especially if the farts are really rank. So thank you. All right, so I'm looking in. Is there glitter in there? I don't know that I see any glitter.
I mean, if I didn't,
I don't see any either.
I see a little bit.
Holding it up to the light, maybe? I don't know. All
I
right,
got a flash of glitter.
see what
It
we
might be
got.
glued at the bottom.
And whoever gets that, we're gonna have to keep pouring until we get to the last
Okay, keep going.
bits of the glitter. Let's see.
I think you got one more to pour there for now.
Definitely
Anyway,
smells like
it's like a sour.
unicorn urine.
You know, I'm unfamiliar with the scent of unicorn
let's see
urine,
here.
so this will be.
Does everyone have one already?
I think so.
I believe
Yeah.
so.
I'm just gonna keep pouring. I want to get to the bottom of this.
No glitter.
Oh, is that the last one? You seen glitter?
This does not get a 5-star at all.
Reminds me, by the way, of the of that old saying: "All that glitters is not unicorn farts."
You know, I don't get a lot of glitter going on there.
All right, I'm going to taste it. It definitely, it's not got a strong aroma on the nose, but I do pick up a little hint of the fact that it's a sour.
It's got a sour
wow.
but and a little fruity, pebbly kind
Oh, I
of
see the glitter.
nose to it.
Do you?
Yeah, it's there.
He took his light to it.
Oh, so
Yeah,
if
it's
you shine
there.
the pen light in it, you see the glitter, huh?
It only shows up in CD lighting. Is that what's going on here?
Yeah, maybe,
yeah.
maybe. Well, if you had this like in the bar, maybe in the
Oh yeah. So,
in the
if
low
you
light
put
of the bar, or
if
maybe
you
in the
put
reflection
light-
of a neon, if it were that kind of a bar,
Probably.
Just pull my
show
little
up.
flashlight.
Right,
Here
if
you go.
put
It's
the-
the
if you
show
put the
now.
light right into it, you can see it reflected. It's very tiny glitters. This is not like if you're gonna bedazzle something. It's
not
those
kindergarten
kind of glitters. It's like-
Okay, yeah, I see the little shiny specks now.
you gotta really kind of look for them.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Well, apparently you're going to have a hard time, by the way, passing the glitter on your shirt post strip club off as being from this, because that's usually much bigger and more noticeable glitter.
Unless you retrofit your house with some black lights or something.
That's true. That's true. That could be good. So, Ian, what's your first thought on this, taste wise?
It's sour. It's not that interesting.
It's a more interesting name than flavor. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't think the flavor's that interesting. It's a little one-dimensional. It tastes like
I can pinpoint there's a predominant fruit flavor that's very familiar to me.
Is it mango?
When I was growing up, my grandparents did this thing where they did half orange juice, half guava. And so you can taste the acidity of the guava. I get a little bit of tangerine, I get a little bit of citrus fruit to it, but it's kind of like a blended flavor. So you were kind of close with the mango, but more guava, in my opinion.
I think you're right. I get those two fruits confused anyway.
I do too.
it's not a bad flavor.
Yeah.
I just don't.
I like the tang that it leaves on your tongue. That's, in fact, probably my favorite thing about it is the finish is kind of bright and shiny.
It says, pony up for a taste of this glittered sour ale brewed with a trio of fruits, fruity cereal, and a swirl of edible glitter. Based on the flavor profile of the famous Unicorn Farts donut made with fruity cereal, this beer is medium-bodied with big fruit notes, slight tardiness, plus a hint of malty biscuit.
So does this have cereal in it as well?
Yes.
You can taste it.
Yeah.
I kind of get the cereal in
I didn't
there.
know if it was from cereal or if they
Right.
had just arrived at some combination of flavors that made you think that. But
It's
it is
a-
kind of like a fruity breakfast cereal.
A
sort of vibe.
fantastical collaboration between DuClaw Brewing and Diablo Donuts.
Oh, interesting. So there must be a
I'd
Unicorn Farts donut?
Yeah,
Maybe?
that's apparently the Diablo Donuts makes a donut that has fruity pebbles or something.
Speaking of fruity pebbles, you guys brought this, which is
Made
not
with
fruity
fruity
pebbles,
cereal.
but it's fruity pellets. And I've had this, but I'm so excited that we're going to have it again because I think that's an outstanding beer. And I
fantastic.
didn't know if I was going to like it based on the name. The name kind of made me think, I don't know, it's going to be too candy,
Too sweet,
cereal
yeah.
sweet, but I think it's fantastic. We'll get to that. I like this, but it wouldn't be something I would buy all the time. It's interesting to try. Talking about unicorn farts. Interesting to try.
I think this would be popular with the ladies. It really would be.
Yeah?
I know a
because
lot of
it's-
ladies that drink sours. And this at
That's
the very
interesting.
end, that biscuit flavor you were talking about, kind of dries out the sweetness. So I mean, for me, I find myself kind of taking another sip.
Dude, if you mix that with a little bit of a wit beer, kind of do a half and half thing.
Yeah?
I could see that working, balancing out that tart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of like
It's
that
not
idea.
the tart. I think that I'm not jiving with it. The fruit is there. It's just kind of a. It's just not interesting to me. Like I like a lot of sour beers. I like sour beers to linger a little bit. I like them to be sour. This to me is kind of
that sour.
not
on
very
the palate.
sour. It's just got a little snap of sour. It's got fruit, but it's not really memorable. I don't know.
Add some
Reminds me of a
champagne
lemon
to it at the
warhead.
mimosa.
Oh, that's probably true. Yeah.
That make it interesting. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
More bubbles and get that get that sort of Sunday morning vibe going. I like that. I do. Well, that
It's
was
drinkable. It's not. It's definitely worth trying.
for a beer that Ian described as not that interesting. It's pretty interesting, if you know what
What's-
I'm trying to say.
What's the price on that for a single can?
I think there's a price tag on it.
$2.87 for a single can.
That's not bad for a 16-ounce can.
Not at all.
Yeah.
When we did the Hazel's Nuts, that was like about $6 for like a regular can. I wouldn't quite $6, but it was like $5.
No, it was more than that.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
like
more like
$6.49 or $7. Yeah.
$7
Yeah.
per can,
Yeah.
but worth every penny and
yeah.
more.
Yeah, that was a really good beer. Of all of the darker beers we've tried across the last year or so on the show, that was definitely hands down the best, I think, that we've tried. Any comments coming in
Wiki
on
Brian
Unicorn Folks?
says, "Grown men bitching about not getting glitter. What the hell happened?"
That's a good point. That's a good point. Hey, mine didn't have enough glitter.
Liliana, I'll have time. I'll have an answer for you probably by the end of today.
Oh, okay.
She wants to come see me play at the tent that I'm playing at the cook-off next week.
Cool. I like it. Well, I think that was an interesting experiment, if nothing else. And certainly the name is going to get them sampled, right?
Yes.
You know, you're going to have to buy and try at least one.
Oh, yeah.
Farts.
So and that was
The artwork, by the way, is pretty. Couldn't you turn that down just a little bit so
so you
yeah,
can
there
see
we
it.
go.
There we go. Yep.
Yeah, unicorn farts. The artwork is fantastic, however.
Yeah.
I've been noticing that a lot of people have been putting more money into the label, the artwork, to get you to buy it.
Well, it's turned into a really interesting and different craft beer world out there. So you may have your favorite that you buy or your handful of favorites that you buy regularly, but everybody's always trying new things. And there's so many things, even with us going through, at least 3 beers a week on this show. Every time I walk into the D&Q or Specs downtown, I look around at the beers and go, I haven't tried that, I haven't tried that. Like, there's so much to try. So artwork is one of those ways to maybe get you to at least say, what's
Entice you.
this? Yeah.
Right.
And let you read the label and find out something about it. It's not like the old days when it was just like a brand logo, on the can.
I did tell you about when I was floating the river with my brew club this past time. We had some of our members from the Denton area showed up, and we had their cooler next to us. And so I was like, "Hey, somebody grab me a beer." And they were like, "What kind of beer do you want?" I was like, "I don't know, something beer flavored." And so, no lie, he reaches in without even looking, grabs a beer and tosses it to me, and it was called beer flavored beer.
That's amazing.
That was the actual name of the beer. Beer flavored beer.
Was it like back in the 70s when you would go into the grocery store, the generic aisle, and
Just
they
the
would have
can
the
would
white
say
can that just
beer.
said beer? I wonder. I never had one of those, but I wonder what they tasted like. How
Right.
bad?
Was it good?
How bad was it?
Oh, it was good beer, yeah. And it was very
beer flavored beer.
Yeah.
That is so interesting.
I think it was flavored with natural beer flavors.
Oh, there you go. All organic.
Speaking of beers and brands, Ian and I were texting each other during the Super Bowl, amazed at the Bud Light hard
Seltzer?
soda. The Bud Light seltzer ads. Just like,
Right. They don't describe the flavor as good
right.
or bad or drinkable or anything. It's loud.
Yeah. Right. It's loud.
How does that taste? Loud. That is what they came up with.
Yeah.
Oh, those are the
That's-
sodas. They're the new sodas.
Oh yeah, right. They're the Bud Light hard sodas.
Oh, well, whatever it is. They
which is
taste
the latest.
loud.
Yeah, they're loud. And Ian and I were texting back and forth, and I said, "Truth in advertising at all?" Because he says, legally they can't say it's good apparently. And I said, "Truth in advertising and all." And Ian texted back, "I couldn't read your last text because my seltzer is too loud." So I just thought it was ridiculous. First of all, Bud Light is a top-selling but extremely mediocre beer. And I realize they've got brand identification with Bud Light. But Bud Light Seltzer is not a brand extension. It's not like Bud Light Lime, where it's like Bud Light beer with lime flavor added. It's a completely different product. It's not even a beer. It's a seltzer. And these hard sodas are the same thing. Like, why do they need to call them Bud Light?
So they can sell them.
But for someone like me, it has the opposite effect. I won't try it because I was like, well, I don't like Bud Light, so I'm not going to like that either.
But you're not their target
Demographic.
target
That's
guy.
probably true.
It's a different demographics.
It's probably true. The Dilly Dilly campaign didn't reach me.
For the many.
Yeah. Well, all right. Let's take a break, and we will come back and do some more beer sampling because we've got a number of beers to get through here. And this sounds like the kind of problem to have, doesn't it? It's Smoking and Toasting, and we also want to hear a little more about your new restaurant. Are you open now?
We soft opened on Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
So just soft.
We
open.
just opened. We're not like trying to get loud about it. There's a few things that need to get fixed.
Well,
but,
I understand. Yeah. You can get some of that loud seltzer in there.
There you go.
no, we keep things at a minimal level.
Okay. All right, very good. So we want to find out more about that, and we'll do some more beer tasting. It's Smoking and Toasting, and drinking news is coming up.
We haven't talked about Cigar.
Yeah, that's right. So you should ask. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. We are the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And we're up to show number 270, and we're tasting lots of beers today. It's like I can't believe I'm going to say this. It's kind of like a beer-palooza, sort of.
Beer-palooza.
I hate when people add the word palooza to. There's only one palooza. It's Lollapalooza. Let's leave it that way, okay? I don't need your, Sailapalooza for new cars or anything like that. That's just dumb. So I'll tell you what's not dumb though is Stone Brewing Company.
Stone and
out of
Deschutes.
California.
This is a collab.
Oh, it's a collab. Yes.
Stone and
I
Deschutes.
have-
It's called
I have
Let's
had-
Be Homies.
Yeah, and I have had this before, and I can tell you.
And the whole artwork is kind of a honeycomb with bees and flowers and those
and
kind of things.
oh, and it's got some honey and hops on the nose, which
I have
is
a
awesome.
question for you.
Yes.
Did you have a cigar this week?
Oh, I did. You want me to
We
tell
hadn't
you about it?
talked about your cigar
No,
this
you're
week.
you're absolutely right. I didn't mention it. We got so busy with unicorn farts and non-alcoholic beer. I did have a cigar this week that I want to talk about. It's the Don Pepin Garcia Original, the blue label. It's the Invictus size is what they call the Robusto, and it is. Again, it's one of those cigars. There's so many great cigars in the My Father line and things that have come out since the original that it's easy to forget about the original. It's kind of like the Rocky Patel vintage. He's got so much great, cool stuff
Right.
that's come out of. It's easy to forget about how interesting and good those vintage
The 90 and the
vintage 90 and 92
yeah.
are. So I thought I would give this one a try. Pepin Garcia started rolling cigars in Cuba when he was 12 years old, and like so many other master blenders, he wound up leaving Cuba. And by the early 2000s, he'd made his way to the U.S. and built the original My Father factory in Miami, Florida, which is where the Don Pepin Original is produced. So this is at country of origin. Not of the tobacco, but of the cigar itself, is actually the U.S., which is pretty cool because there's only a few brands that have facilities in the United
Right.
States where the cigars are made. Most of them are in, the Dominican Republic or Nicaragua or Honduras. Pepin uses a Corojo Oscuro wrapper on the original, which is kind of cinnamon brown and has a nice rich texture. I always thought of Oscuro as being a much darker leaf, like a really
Usually
solid
when you
black.
see it, it's very, very dark, yeah.
Right, but this one's more like it's like cinnamon brown color. It has a nice rich texture. The binder binder and filler are from Nicaragua. Very deep earth notes on the pre-light, almost like you could smell the soil the tobacco was grown in. It was just so rich and interesting on the nose.
Earthy.
Bit of cedar as well and some other wood notes. I used a punch and lit the Robusto, and I was immediately rewarded with, and hang on, because I kind of got something ready for this, and then I sort of forgot. So let me just stall for a moment and see what the heck I did with that. It's going to be all the way at the bottom. Hang on. I put together a little sound effect for what I'm about to tell you about this cigar. So, ready? And let's see, here it is. As I was saying, I used a punch, I lit up the Robusto, and was immediately rewarded with a Nicaraguan pepper blast.
I was about to say pepper.
That's the new sound effect.
All right,
Nicaraguan
challenge
pepper
accepted.
blast.
I'm gonna have to come up with something.
You can come up with something better than that, I'm sure. When we first did the Drinking News theme song, he kept saying he was going to write a Drinking News theme song. And he kept saying, I need to write that. I need to write that. You know how I got him to finally do it? I started singing one of my own. Okay. He wrote it real fast. And it's good, too. In any case, he'll come up with an appropriate sound effect for us now for this.
Yes, well, I'll have to come up with something.
All right, fair enough. Anyway, the Nicaraguan pepper blast died down, as they usually do. And I got that earthy vibe that I had noticed on the pre-light, along with a maple sweetness and plenty of spice. By the time I hit the second third, I was getting a little dark chocolate and a creaminess, with the spice still giving my tongue a little bit of the peppery, sort of tingle. It was really, really a very pleasurable smoke. There is plenty of punch to the original, as in strength, but it never got overwhelming or overpowering. The final third got actually even creamier, which I found interesting for such a spicy cigar, because you don't normally run into those two things together in a spicier cigar. Construction was excellent. There was also a little bit of date or raisin sweetness, which might explain the creamy vibe a little bit. Maybe it was a little of that sweetness on the tongue, even though there was plenty of spice. Construction, as I said, was excellent. A kind of crooked burn, but it eventually corrected itself pretty well. Draw was perfect, and there was a large volume of fluffy, billowy smoke. It was definitely one of those fill the room with smoke type of cigars, but I smoked it outside.
Nice.
Anyway, very enjoyable cigar overall. It might be easy to overlook the original with all of the excellent newer blends from my father, but you shouldn't. It is the OG of my father's cigars, and it definitely earns its place in your humidor. Strength was medium to full, leaning just ever so slightly towards the full end of that spectrum. The original Invictus Robusto was an $8 to $9 cigar, Robusto size, totally worth it, thumbs up, recommended, and a solid 5 price to quality. So we both thought they hit exactly right in terms of price to quality this week, both of the cigars. So
solid 5.
I enjoyed it. And it really is true. When I go and look at my father's cigars, if I'm in the humidor there at Casa de Monte Cristo, I have a tendency to see that and go, oh, yeah, but then what else? And then I look towards the newer blends and newer things that have come out, and you'll miss out on a really good cigar if you do that. So,
So I've got a question for you both. Like, what price range do you normally look for in a cigar? Like when you walk up, obviously there are other factors, but what's your price range?
So if I'm walking into a humidor, most of my cigar purchases are going to be between probably $7 and $12. If I'm feeling like, I want something, a little special, like what I call a special occasion cigar, I might step up on the price from that. But I also I buy bundles of, we talked about it earlier, these factory smokes, and they come in depending on where you get it and which size you get. You can get them for less than $2 a cigar, bought in a bundle, and those are what I refer to as my lawnmowers. So, if that answers your question, in general, if I'm going to go sit outside and enjoy a cigar and not do much else, then I'll pull out something in that middle price range. If I'm just putzing around and I'm doing other stuff and I'm not sitting just having a cigar, but I want to have a cigar, that's when I have the cheaper,
the less
ones,
expensive, sure. For me, I would say that I have a tendency to smoke most often, actually in the $6 to $8 range. But the caveat there is that I've found a handful of different ones in that price range that I really like. And so those are the ones that I go to in that price range. If I walk into the cigar store to make a purchase and I'm looking for something that I think I'm going to like, but I haven't tried yet, I probably go a little higher. I'm probably in the $8 to $12 range, because there are some $6 to $8 cigars that just aren't going to be that good. They'll be okay, but they're a little more one-dimensional. So if I'm looking for something new and exciting to try, I definitely will spend a little more. But like go-to every day, yeah, for me, $6 to $8. And there's some AJ Fernandez has some great cigars in that price range, and they're just as good.
That Hoyo Black.
Oh man, yeah, it's
so good.
That's what you're talking about, right? You can get a Bella Artez, one of the not the Gordo, but one of the smaller sizes. You can get that for right around $7. It's
a lot of the My Father cigars can come in right at that price. Too.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And so there's a lot that you can smoke in that price range that are good. But if I'm going 6 to 8, I probably am going for something I know.
Okay.
And if I'm going for something I don't know, I will ratchet that up a little higher. So that's where I come in. So while you guys were talking about cigar prices, I took the first sip of this, and this is wonderful.
This punches you in the face with flavor. That's for sure.
Man.
Absolutely.
That is a very Stone thing. You expect that.
This
from
is Stone and Deschutes, is that right?
Stone and Deschutes.
Well, both. I mean, Stone to me is probably one of the most respected breweries in the country. I mean, people just, I don't think they've put out some beers that weren't my favorite, but they've never put out anything that I've tasted that I didn't think was absolutely top quality. It just might not have been to my particular palate. But most of everything I've tried of theirs, I think, is delicious. In fact, I just had some of their straight-up Stone IPA recently, and was reminded, kind of like the my father, Pepin Garcia original, reminded how good just that basic beer is.
Stone has been the pinnacle of West Coast IPA.
They have.
For years. I mean, I think you can almost just use that as the standard for West Coast IPA. And when the craze for everyone just to make everything hoppier and hoppier and hoppier was out, Stone was doing that, but still keeping it balanced.
Yeah.
And that says a lot.
Right. They didn't just put hops in just so it would be bigger than everybody else's hops.
No.
They did it because they found a balance that
and still made it bigger than everyone else's hops.
And they've also had a number of non-IPAs.
It's very loud beer.
They've also had a number of non-IPAs that are just exceptional too. Arrogant Bastard is just a terrific beer. And there's so many other things. We've had some of their stouts and different things that they release, but they are very IPA centric. And what I love about that is it feels like every couple of months they've got a new IPA variety out, and that's awesome.
So this is called Let's Be Homies. B is spelled with 2 E's, of course. Hazy IPA. Hazy India Pale Ale brewed with honey. It says...
I think it's blackberry honey and orange blossom.
Nature is full of great collaborations. Take plants and pollinators, for example. A symbiotic relationship that gives us fruits, vegetables, and, of course, honey. Although Stone and Deschutes have origins on near opposite ends of the West Coast, our backyards are brought together in this hazy IPA brewed with equal parts blackberry honey and Oregon blackberry honey and California orange blossom honey, a craft beer cross-pollination. Now available across the nation. Ooh, they did a rhyme in.
Yeah. So Stone is in San Diego, and Deschutes, I believe, they're in Oregon. I think Portland. Yeah. Those are both West Coast, but both extremely different kinds of West Coast.
Which the Deschutes, not to talk about, Stone's classic, but Deschutes as well has been doing a great job for years. Their Black Butte Porter is just
Black Butte Porter is
fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
So when you guys are putting together, when you're curating the beer for a restaurant, like you did for Ritual or for something like the Ready Room, how often do you feel like it's important for that beer menu to change? Do you kind of lock in with what works and stay there for the most part, or is it important that the next time I come in, there's something different on the menu?
So what's funny is we do have a set list of beers, but they're all like easy drinking, High Lifes, Yinglings, Yellow Bellies, things of that nature. But we do have a weekly rotational beer list as well.
So not just a rotational beer, but a rotational beer list.
Yeah, we have about like 6 or 7 that we rotate We try to rotate every week, every 2 weeks.
That's good. So every time I come in, there's going to be something different to try on the menu.
We actually named it after a regular of ours as well. Yeah,
that's cool. That's cool.
Awesome.
I know there's been a trend at a lot of restaurants, and even some very, very nice restaurants, to just kind of like get by with the
to let the distributor decide what we're going to put on our
Oh
shelf.
yeah, okay. So you need an IPA. Okay, take Hopadillo. Okay, so you need a a lager. Take Love Street. Or whatever. And I'm not just knocking Carbach, but the problem, of course, with Carbach is that that's Anheuser-Busch. And so you've got Anheuser-Busch leaning, I think, on these restaurants.
There are some politics.
Exerting some influence, saying, well, if you will fill your crafty beers on the menu with stuff that we distribute, stuff that we own, then we'll take care of you in other ways. And it's just not as interesting for the consumer. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Hopadillo, but that's not what I'm looking for when I come to your restaurant to try an interesting IPA.
Which was going to bring to my point of answering your question is that I think people's attention attention span is so short these days because, like you said, the market is flooded and saturated with so many different brands, so many different flavors. No one's loyal to one thing. Yeah, it may be hot for a couple of weeks, but that's going to be it.
Yeah. So you're saying that supports the idea of changing and rotating these things around.
It's just gotten a lot harder nowadays because it's hard to get stuff from distributors right now.
If you think about it, like I'm old enough to actually remember this, your favorite beer used to be a little bit about what sort of defined you. Like, were you a Bud guy or a Miller guy or a Coors guy? That used to say something about you the same way that, were you a Ford guy or a Chevy guy?
Trucks.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
I was a Shiner guy.
See, but that's because you've always been, a little bit outside the box on that stuff. And now there's lots of people who say I'm a Shiner guy, but Shiner is, they make great beer. They make some interesting beer. They make one of the better, boxed, I think, that we've tried. But it's almost a more mainstream thing. They've been around for long enough, and they're a little more well known. So the people who are always looking for new and next sometimes may overlook Shiner and go somewhere else.
I will tell you though that if I walk into your restaurant and I'm looking at your beer list and I see stuff that I know that I like that I've had, and then I see something I haven't had, I'm probably going to order the something I haven't had first.
Absolutely.
Depending on the price range, right? Which is why I was asking you guys about what price range of cigars y'all smoke, because there's a pattern to that. And I was just curious. If it's above a certain price point, no, people won't do that.
That's interesting. I know.
That depends. If it's barrel aged,
yes,
or there's something else special about it. Like, because a lot of stouts can be very pricey. Stouts, porters, English ales, those kind of things.
Well, just like
if it's something special and it comes in a tulip and it costs a few dollars more, I'm probably gonna try that. Let me just be honest.
But we were talking about that though, like with Hazel's Nuts. It's like that's a more expensive beer, but it's worth every penny because it's just that much of an experience when you get to try it. I will say that I always judge a beer menu in a couple of ways. First, I look and see, are there any beers on it that look interesting that I haven't tried? That's a big
plus.
Big plus for me. The second thing I look at is there a variety of styles? Is there an IPA? Is there a porter or a stout? Is there even maybe something cool like a Scotch ale on there? Now you know somebody's working it, right?
Right.
And then the next thing is I will look and see, does it have one of my standing favorites? Does it have a Lone Pint Yellow Rose IPA on it?
A Plan B.
Something, right, exactly. One that I know and respect the fact that may be on there. And then lastly, if I'm striking out in all of those areas, I'm like, do they at least have Shiner Bock?
Yeah, there's always Shiner.
Shiner Bock.
Or Sam Adams.
Sam Adams, yeah. Shiner Bock and Sam Adams have saved the day for me.
Those are the only two saving graces when you go to Buffalo Wild Wings.
See, I don't.
They have a huge list of beers.
Yeah, I won't go there because I'm so.
And that's the only two that they have that are worth buying.
Here's why I don't go.
Yuengling guy.
Yeah. So they do have Yuengling though, don't they?
Well, they probably have that
I've been
now.
to Buffalo Wild Wings in a minute.
Two reasons that I won't go to Buffalo Wild Wings. One, you just pointed it out. All those taps and only two decent beers.
Yeah.
And two, sticky floors.
Yeah, I
The
hate
floors
sticky
are
floors.
always sticky in Buffalo Wild Wings.
It's like a Denny's.
It's like, what do? Do people drop the wings down there and they just kind of move them around with a mop? Like, what's happening with that? That's not good.
Do you remember the blue iguana here in Houston?
I do. It's been a long time.
That was the stickiest, most disgusting floor.
Okay, if
I
you're
used to play there all the time, and
if
every
you're
time I
a-
walked in, like you walk across the floor, and it's a good thing there was music playing because otherwise you'd hear your feet, coming unstuck from the floor. with
I
every
will
step.
say though, if you're
It's
a
terrible.
dive bar,
And that was definitely a dive bar.
you do get away with that a little more than if you're a Buffalo freaking Wild Wings. Buffalo Wild Wings. That's like the Chili's of wing places. You know what I mean? Nothing wrong with Chili's. It's just it is what it is. It's a franchise. You're not going to impress a girl if you say, "I'm taking you out for dinner. We're going to Chili's."
If you live in Liberty, that's the nice restaurant.
Well, okay. Point well made. But you know what I'm saying, though? Like your expectation, Chili's got fine food. I enjoy their burgers, but it's not a place where you're expecting to go and get something, really unusual or really. You're not expecting cuisine.
Yeah, it's not an Applebee's for sure, man.
Right? Yeah.
No, but it is the place to go when you're craving the Southwest chicken egg rolls.
Yeah, see, there are things. That's what I'm saying. There are things that can make it worthwhile. All right, we need to taste this beer because we're running along in this segment here. This is Fruity Pellets. This is from. Is this from? Remind me the brewery. Ian, is it Great Heights?
Did you get him one? Yeah,
Yes,
Great
great.
Heights.
Great Heights. We got to have these guys come on the show. The Great Heights guys.
Is it
They're
Great
doing
Heights
great
or
stuff
Eureka
lately.
Heights?
They really are. And this
Did you
may
get
be
one? Oh yeah.
I did. Okay.
this may be my favorite thing that I've tasted from them. It is just it's almost like drinking a what do they call those? What is it? That drink? It's like an
Orange
orange.
Julius.
Orange Julius. That's what I was.
It's
trying
pretty
to think of.
delicious. I
Yeah.
have to tell you, this is pretty darn good. Mm-hmm. Our video seems to be slightly frozen.
That's not good. I will point out that we've had two IPAs back to back here that Ian has really liked, and Ian's not easy to impress with IPAs. I like almost everything.
Yeah,
IPA, but
this
Ian's
is,
much pickier.
This
IPA
particular
was.
IPA, I have to say, is above and beyond. It's special. It says for us, the haze craze all started with fruity pellets. Wheat and flaked oats provide a soft, creamy mouthfeel along with the style's trademark haze. This is kind of weird to read because some of it you're reading down and some sideways. Very bizarre. Citra and Mosaic and Amarillo hops are added liberally after the boil, contributing to massive citrus and tropical aromas without the traditional hop bitterness. This is a masterpiece in hazy, I think.
It really is. Like this is about as good as a hazy can get. It's just absolutely fantastic. And so I'm so proud that is a local for us.
Yeah, they're going to
Absolutely.
they're going to put up some competition to Spindle Tap on the hazies.
Yeah, and even the guys at Ingenious too, who've got some really good hazies going. But no, you're absolutely right. But so often when you think of hazies, you think of the handful of breweries around the country that are kind of known for that, and they have a tendency to be in places like Portland and Boston and things like. So it's pretty awesome that we got a Houston beer right here. I'd put toe to toe with any of those.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
this is pretty
I think
fantastic.
that's fantastic. I love it and recommend it highly. And
I haven't been to Great Heights. Have you been there?
I have not. I
have not.
And we not only need to go, we need to get them on the show because they've got a lot of. I've seen a lot of different iterations of their beer on the shelf, and we got to get them in here and try it.
Brewed on Wakefield. Isn't that where the old what was it called? There was a bar over there.
I don't remember.
There's the Caddy Corner, and right down the road from the Caddy Corner was the
I've never lived in the
petrol
Heights, although I love
station.
it.
I think
Yeah,
those are all
petrol
right
station.
on
Kind of by
Wakefield.
where Walking Stick Brewery and all that is.
Yeah. All right.
There's kind of an area there where there's a bunch of breweries that you just like park one place and walk from brewery to brewery there.
Which is an awesome thing to
I think
do.
maybe now that I think about it, maybe I have been to Greater Heights. I have to look at a picture of the brewery.
All right, we'll do that during the break, which we'll take right now, and we will be back at Smoking and Toasting. There's more beer to try. In fact, coming up in the next segment, we'll be trying another IPA. This one, a double IPA called Braincake from Parish Brewing. So we'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. This program's all about craft beer, Fine spirits and hand-rolled cigars was show number 270. And some of our best cocktail friends have joined us to talk about beer, which is awesome. I like mixing it up like that.
Absolutely.
Few things while Ian pours us some Braincake, which is from Parish Brewing
I
Company.
showed up on IPA day.
One of my you did, but I think this may be the last one. But you want to kind of put them all together.
I have a farmhouse farmhouse IPA right here too.
We'll do that next. So while he pours the Parish Brewing. What is it called again? Double cake?
Braincake.
Braincake, thank you. It's a double IPA called Braincake. While Ian pours that out and gets it ready for us, I'll give you a couple of cigars to watch for that are new on the scene. For more than 2 decades, General Cigar Company has released limited annual runs of the Punch Rare Corojo series, and this year they have resurrected a size that's meant to resemble a baseball bat. According to company lore, the new Aristocrat from Punch is based on an old shape that was originally made for cigar-smoking sports legends Red Auerbach and Art Rooney, back when the Punch brand was owned by Villazone and Company. It's tapered like a Louisville Slugger, and it measures 6 1/8 inches long with a 54 ring gauge. At its fattest point, it's $9.99 per cigar. It's limited, so look for it at your favorite cigar shop. The CAO Arcana series, which emphasizes unusual tobacco, is getting a new release, and it contains a tobacco that's been fermented through a really obscure method, being buried in the ground. That's how they fermented this tobacco. The new blend is called Firewalker, and the defining earth-fermented leaf is found inside the filler from Nicaragua that's in the cigar. And according to the parent company, the filler is grown in the Mestepe region of Nicaragua. They assemble it into a pilon, and then they bury it in the volcanic soil for 2 months. After that, it goes to the factory for 9 months of secondary fermentation. Sounds interesting to try, right? I've never had, I think, a cigar where it's been fermented tobacco's been fermented in the ground. So they are set to retail for $11.99, and they'll come in 20-count boxes. Only 5,000 boxes are being produced. And we've talked
I'll have to
before
look for that.
Yeah, we've talked before about the Diesel Sunday Gravy series.
Yes.
And they are making their saucy return with the 3rd release in the line. It is Rosa Marino. It's made in Nicaragua by...
Let me guess.
Yeah. AJ Fernandez, yes. He made it for the Forge Cigar Company. Started in July when Forge released its first Diesel Sunday Gravy San Marzano brand. Then in October, this is last year, of course, the Sunday Gravy Pecorino made its way to market. And then coming out on the 28th of this month, according to Forged, the new one, the Sunday Gravy Rosa Marino, will be shipping to retailers. They say the name Rosa Marino is supposed to be a nod to the complexity that rosemary will lend to any dish. However, they do want you to know there's no dried rosemary in the cigar.
Don't try smoking rosemary.
Yeah. Probably
Not get you high.
Probably not a good
Was
idea.
it like 70s all over again?
It's
oregano, I swear.
yeah.
I just keep oregano in my sock drawer. It keeps it smelling fresh.
Yeah, exactly. It's Nicaraguan tobacco. It's a Nicaraguan Puro, and it is only one size. It's a Toro that's 6x50, sold in 10 packs and retails for $4.99 per cigar.
Wow.
How about that?
All right.
Huh? Yeah. So that's worth trying too. So a few new things to watch for, and now Ian has poured us some double cake.
I have poured you Braincake.
Oh, see, I keep doing that. Why do I keep doing that?
Because it's a double IPA.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what it's got. So Parish, I'll say, they have done no wrong in anything I've tasted. Everything that I've tasted from them has been an out of the park smash. Ian, I know
You're gonna love this.
I know you've tasted this already. What do you think?
You're going to love this.
I already love it on the nose.
Me, I probably won't buy it again.
Yeah. So it's super hoppy, I'm guessing.
It's
I like it.
hoppy. It's bitter.
Ooh,
bitter,
baby.
bitter.
That's
Like,
good.
What are the IBUs on it?
That's
if you
really
want me
good.
But it's
asking?
also very saucy. You know, it's got a
I
nice,
think it's because of this hop that they have on there.
It doesn't actually say the IBUs on here. But
I love the definition he pulled up.
is what I guess.
I love the definition that
1,000.
Peter
All of the IBUs.
Peter pulled up the definition or an article on Strata hops on Google on his phone, and it says Strata is described as passion fruit meets pot. So back to the oregano.
So
thing.
it says double strata, citra, cashmere, and double wheat.
That's good.
So.
That's
It is.
really good.
Very well done.
It's got such a different, and I've had other beers with Strata, but this one feels more balanced. Sometimes you get a beer with Strata and you're like, oh wow, I can really taste that different hop, but and it has a little dankness to it. But here they've kind of balanced that dankness out with a creaminess, and it's really well. You talk about a well balanced IPA.
What is this? A 9%er?
8.4.
Ian, show off that artwork to one of the
Yeah, the
cameras, 'cause
artwork's
that's
real nice on this
that's
can.
really impressive. I tell you what, the guys at Parish, I think this is one of the most underrated breweries in the country. They just keep hitting it out of the park. They are wonderful.
It's got an interesting, like a woman's face in double vision kind of thing going on there. It's kind of neat.
I'm digging this. Wow.
So this is a double wheat IPA. That's
Oh, this is a
different.
double wheat? Mm-hmm. Wow.
This is incredibly interesting to taste. It's not something I'd reach for again. That's just a me thing. It's just
Well, good, because that leaves more for me. You can refill my cup.
certainly
Thank
have
you.
more.
Yeah.
I mean, this would definitely be something to drink that if I had nothing to do.
right,
I mean,
right.
the
For the rest
9%.
of the day,
This-
right?
Absolutely.
this also could be influenced substantially. Like I could see this going with fish or some kind of like a lemon pepper flavored dish, those kind of things, and I bet it would actually enhance and go well with stuff like that.
I
know-
think anything shellfish would be great with this.
Shellfish.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I would just say, too, even though it is pretty hop forward, I don't think this would fight with a cigar. And
There's
I'm
a-
always looking for IPAs that I could drink and have a cigar.
There's a
'Cause there are some that I
sweet-
love that just would destroy a cigar.
There's a
you know?
sweet maltiness that happens right as you swallow, and then just right at the very back of the palate, and then goes away. That's actually really nice in this.
Well, I gotta thank my wife for this one. She brought it home from HEB. She knows how much I love Parish, so she saw that it was Parish. She goes, "I got to get this for him," and I'm so glad she did. That's fantastic. That's really fantastic. We have another IPA that we're going to try, and this one's going to be something really different.
This is the Hazy Farmhouse India Pale Ale.
So that's interesting. I don't know that I've ever had a farmhouse IPA.
Right. So,
I'm not even sure what classifies as a farmhouse IPA.
but what's funny is when I was picking all these up at Premium Draft today in the Heights, the guy behind the counter, I forgot to get his name, but he was telling me that's one of the ones he's most excited about. Out
Really?
of Oregon, he said you can put it in the lines of Jester King Brewery, where it's kind of like farmhouse soury, but it doesn't taste sour whatsoever.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, generally the farmhouse, the defining, sort of quality of farmhouse is that sort of dankness, that that funky flavor, which when they get it right, when it's balanced right, it's just exceptional.
Absolutely.
But I have had some that's like, it's not bad, but it's just funky. It's not funky and great, you know? And
So this is brewed by Wolves and People, is the brewery.
Wolves and People, I like
Wolves
it.
and People in Newburgh, Oregon.
I think that was the title of a episode of Yellowstone from this season, Wolves and People, I think. And for those of you, I'm still trying to figure out, is Casey the wolf? Is the wolf Casey? I somehow they lost me on that part, but I still enjoyed watching
Very
it.
bubbly.
I haven't been watching it.
Yeah, it's worthwhile.
hope
It's
you
kind of
like-
like The Sopranos in Montana.
Never watched
like-
The Sopranos.
Oh man,
I know,
you got
right?
you got some catching up to do.
Listen, Joe Pesci ruined it for me.
Have you watched The Wire,
No,
dude?
Is that everybody?
Breaking Bad.
That's everybody.
that's
yeah.
everybody.
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad I have.
You are now naming all the shows that I've never watched.
Oh, Ian, we gotta. And I know you're not a big.
This is why we're on this side of the
You're not a big. You're not a big TV watcher to begin with. I
I'm not.
understand.
I
that,
have
but-
been. I have been. I do have some YouTube channels that I keep up with and things like that, but I don't watch that much. My biggest problem is there's so many series out,
Yeah.
and once you get started in one, and then they never freaking end. I'm just like, okay, I'm done. And then the second or third season always sucks, right? So even if it gets better, you have to just
Second season.
hash through the second or
Okay.
third season. That's really
Second and third
sucky of every one of them.
Second and third season of Breaking Bad are phenomenally good.
All right, so maybe there's an exception.
Yeah.
But that thing went on for how long? How many
Like,
a long
seasons?
time.
Ever.
Yeah,
No,
it's
it was like
seven.
seven?
Yeah,
Yeah.
7 seasons.
That's a lot of
I
seasons.
think 6 to 7.
Yeah.
When you're doing that kind of a show that's got as many underlying stories and things crisscrossing, I
This
think 6 to
smells
7's about right.
Well, 'cause
Funky and
I think
ridiculous.
usually by
I'm
season
with
3
you,
they're
man.
building undertones.
Give me an
Yes.
ending. Give me an ending.
Give me
in
an
2
ending.
hours.
If you show me something that has like 3 seasons and it's done,
Cobra Kai.
as long as I know there's some kind of end game to it, it's kind of like those massive online games. Like I played them for a little while and I realized there's no end,
Right,
and then
yeah,
it's
the
not
game-
fun anymore
The game
because
never
like
ends.
it
right.
just never ends.
You never beat the game.
Yeah, it's just a mouse wheel at that point,
Yeah.
and that's the way a lot of these shows are for me. And then I just lose interest after a while. Okay, I've seen everything.
See, now that I've
Now
gotten-
there's aliens. Okay, whatever.
Now that
like
I've-
I don't even care.
Now that I've gotten into some of these long-running series, though, now when I go and watch a movie, it often feels like way too rushed. It feels like they had to jam so much stuff into the 2-hour movie that it doesn't play
Well,
out
that's
as logically.
that's because they jam so much stuff into the 2-hour movie that you have hardly any time to actually get what there is, unless it's a tried and true one, like for instance The Hobbit, where they think to themselves, "Man, we can make an amazing 2 to 3 hour movie."
Well, yeah.
But we can make 3 times the money if we expand it and make up a bunch of shit and turn it into 3-hour movies.
Well, but actually that worked better because there's so much, like, you remember like the old, like back in the 80s, like Dune. Like, I never read the
Yes.
Dune novels, but that movie was incomprehensible. Like, I watched it
I've
several
read
times.
the Doom novels many times, and
Yeah.
that movie's still incomprehensible.
Oh, well, okay, but
that
but
movie
there-
is just not a good one.
But there you go. Have you seen the new one? I have not.
The new one, yes, and it's the first half.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's oddly good. I don't know that it's
Okay.
fantastic, but it's oddly good, and the
graphics are
visuals are
great
really
on
good.
there,
Yeah, the visuals are really
Well,
good.
it wouldn't have to go too much to be better than.
But I don't know that it's. I mean, Dune is a complicated story, so you might read the book first.
those are
I know you
complicated
have
books.
Audible. Just get the audio
They're
book.
complicated
It's really
books.
good.
Yeah, they're complicated books. All right, so you were about to say there's some funk going on, weren't you?
This
I like
is
this.
funky, weird, delicious smelling.
It's like sour meets IPA. I like it.
Yeah, it's. I haven't tasted it yet, but the nose on this,
I do like the nose.
like it has that farmhouse funk, which is almost a little off-putting, but then it's a little sweeter smelling.
That's nice.
It's very bizarre.
One of the things he said too at the premium draft shop was that they use natural yeast, so they don't buy their yeast. They use like local yeast when they do
This is
this.
so different and so fun.
And so good. It really is. Like, I find it. I enjoy tasting farmhouse ales. I don't know that I really enjoy drinking them. This is one I could actually enjoy drinking.
This
Right.
has such a bizarre collection of things going on. So first off, it has that farmhouse / hazy, that kind of big mouthfeel that both of those styles have. But there's a delicacy, almost a champagne-like delicacy to the flavor.
Very
Yep.
well described. Yes.
That's I don't know how to describe it any other way than that. And then it's fruity. It's like a fruity farmhouse with a slight bit of sour. This is one that Wiki Brian would actually freak out on, I think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it's hoppy a little bit beyond that. So it's very bizarre.
I don't know. I get a little bit of Saison impression on there.
Yeah,
But I like it.
There's so
I
much
like it a
going
lot.
on. There's so much going on. It's like a really complex cigar. You know, when you're just picking up so many different things and they're all working together really well. That's kind of how I would describe this.
So would this work well with a cigar?
This is questionable because it's got such a bitterness to it. This would
I was
probably,
trying to think of
if
what-
Candela
Yeah.
wrapper or something that's very green and grassy would work with this.
I also wonder if you couldn't just go big. Like go with a big, like full diesel or
Series
something.
R
and,
or-
right. And then just see like how it works. Like is the cigar strong enough to be able to stand up against the interesting and funky taste you got going there?
And you might end
I don't
up
know.
with a pitched battle of flavors on
You
your
might.
palate.
It might not be too. It might be too much. You're right. But it would be worth trying. A pitched
try it.
battle of. I think I would like to experience a pitched battle of flavors on my palate. That sounds like if you use that as the slogan for a new restaurant, you know, say, you know, it's like Ritual 2, a pitched battle of flavors on your palate. I would totally
Bruce,
come at
Bruce Stark is commenting on
I'd be Googling pitched.
on our book versus movie thing. He said
Oh,
he's
yeah?
reading Battlefield Earth, which, by the way, is a great book.
Oh, see, I
the
can't-
movie
I can't
is
Forrest Whitaker do that one?
so bad.
No,
that
that was
was-
John Travolta.
Yep.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
the movie is so bad.
Yeah, I watched the first minute and a half of that, and I was gone.
Oh,
Yeah.
but you watched the
But
best
see-
part of it.
But see, I can't read L. Ron Hubbard. The guy was a loon. It's an absolute loon.
I mean, he
I've
created a
zero-
religion.
Yeah, and look what religion it is.
Tom Cruise is part of that religion.
I can't take him seriously either.
Did you ever see the movie-
Anybody that can't see over the bar, I don't take
Did you ever see
seriously.
the movie? Was it Bowfinger?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, with Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, when they're making fun of that, they had a religion called Mindhead.
That's right.
The only Scientologist I like is Beck. That's it. He's the only one. He's the only one. But no, I have a hard time with L. Ron Hubbard stuff. But I will say he had a vivid imagination.
This is a confusing
did.
beer, and I like it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm confused by it, and
But check out the price tag on that
enchanted
puppy,
by
though.
it.
Yeah, I think that's the $8
Oh,
one.
whew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a.
So is
It's
it worth
It's
it?
also 7.6 alcohol by volume.
It's definitely worth it to try. Like, you know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? Like, it's definitely worth $8 to try that. I don't know if
This
I'd
is
be picking
called
up a
El
4-pack or not.
Verso.
I mean,
Just
that's
so you know, I don't think we've even mentioned the name of it. It's called El Verso. The song is what it means. It is an ongoing ode showcasing our homeland, Oregon's Willamette Valley, brewed with select pale and wheat malts, juicy local white nectarines, raw raspberry, and blackberry honeys, rosy Pinot Noir grape juice from our
Okay, I can
friends
taste that
down the
in
road
there.
at
Yeah,
Argyle Winery. A beguiling mixed culture of yeasts and bacteria, and finished off with the sweet of both kiwi and local alpha Mosaic Nelson Sauvignon and Motueka,
Motueka.
Moteuka.
Matuka.
I don't know how to say this.
So,
but,
but
anyway,
it's
this
called-
this anthem of El Verso chimes brightly with the harmonious tones of home. Enjoy.
So it's called El Verso. That's the
El
name of
Verso.
it. Didn't that sound like somebody trying to speak Spanish who really can't speak Spanish?
Yes,
It's
and
like
Oregon.
That's
Yeah.
Spanish
After
for
Oregon.
the Verso.
after los chorus, go back to El Verso. You know, it's like, okay, gotcha. You know.
After Los Chorus.
All right, so we're gonna take another break here. We got in our final segment coming. Well, it's not our final segment. Our final major segment. We are going to try a couple of different things. I've got my eye on this that you guys brought in.
That's been warming up,
Premium
too,
draft.
so that's
This is
gonna
the
be good.
Scotch ale called Highland Scoundrel.
I love the artwork on that can.
Yeah,
That's
it's
amazing.
pretty awesome. So we're going to try that, and we're also going to try this this Imperial Mayan bourbon barrel aged Imperial Stout from Oddside Ales. And as if that weren't enough for a segment, it's going to be time for drinking news.
Drinking news.
It's coming up.
I had it on Do Not
Bit in.
In the beginning.
Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting, my friends. It is episode number 270. We're all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And I am proud to announce that well, I don't know how proud I am of this or not. But we're here now for the most well-loved and most revered segment of the program. It's a little something we like to call drinking news.
There's a podcast all about cigars and booze. Hanging out every week with Ian and Cruze. Where spirited discussion and cigar reviews. And the segment known around the world is drinking news. It's drinking news. It's what I love. Me and a Florida man and a bottle of rum. I'll pour another round. What do we got to lose? Let me tell you a story, swear to God it's true. Well, a night on the town, we took a turn to the south. When I started drinking that whiskey and running my mouth, I belly up to the bar, another round or two. That's when the gambler said, I got a bet for you. He gave us 7 to 1. You know we couldn't lose. So me and a Florida man fought a kangaroo. We win a couple of rounds. They beat us black and blue. Lord, I hope we don't wind up on drinking news. On drinking news. On drinking news. Mama, I hope I don't wind up on drinking news.
Yeah.
Very well done.
Chris
A little
Morris,
Roger
everybody.
Allen.
Chris Morris.
My favorite
Roger Allen Wade kind of feel in there. I kind of dig it.
My favorite part of that is, Mama, I hope I don't wind up on drinking news. That's what makes it for me. Our good friend Chris Morris, who we also have on the show to talk about cocktails from time to time. It's great having Chris on. I just wish he had opinions. You know what I mean? If he just felt passionately about something, that would be awesome. So while Ian pours out our next beer, I have Drinking News for you. And Drinking News is our segment where we bring you a story that we do, in fact, believe to be true. We've gathered it from at least something that is considered to be a legitimate news source. So these don't come from The Onion, but they are from one or another of the various news sources around the country. They are sometimes about drinking, not always. But they are always probably best to consume and listen to if you've been drinking. And certainly we have. So here we go. I've said this before on the show, and I will stand by my statement. I hate leaf blowers. Hate them. I live downtown in a large urban city. I'm used to city noises. I really am. I mean, I actually don't mind the ambulance sirens that I hear all the time because I only live like 7 or 8 blocks from a hospital. Even the car horns and the train whistles, they're just background noise to me at this point. And little kids screaming at the top of their lungs in the park across the street, apparently that's what kids do. It took me a while to realize this because if I'd screamed at the top of my lungs in public when I was a little boy, my father would have responded by saying, his oh-so-famous line, if you don't shut up, I'll give you something to scream about. But even the noisy kids, I understand, that's what happens when you live next door to a park, right? Mm-hmm. So the one thing, though, that I haven't ever been able to find peace with is leaf blowers. Maybe it's because they seem to stalk me. They turn up everywhere I go, and I'm not kidding.
And they are, by nature, very noisy.
Yes, they are. If I'm outdoors for more than 15 minutes during the day and it's not pouring rain, I will definitely be disturbed by the sound of a leaf blower from somewhere. And it's not like the damn things are doing any good. You just got some guy named Bubba kind of meandering around, gunning the motor and occasionally pointing it at a leaf. What a job. I mean, if I didn't hate the sound so much, I'd apply for that. Just wander around all day blowing leaves onto people's freshly washed cars. Sounds like a pretty relaxing gig. Again, if it weren't for the noise. But alas, I'm completely convinced that when leaf blowers are involved, no good can come from it. Take the news story last week about a Florida woman.
I just love that you put all that together just as a preface.
Oh, yeah.
Just to come
For
to
this
Florida.
story.
We're getting there.
Just to get to a
We're
Florida
getting
woman.
there. Because a Florida woman was involved in a leaf blower war with her neighbors that ended up with her going to jail. 66-year-old Kyung Moulton.
When leaf blowers go bad.
Kyung Moulton arrived home on Sunday and found a copious amount of leaves on her front
They
lawn.
blow their top.
Far too many to be from her trees alone. Moulton told Palm Bay police that she believed that her neighbors from across the street had blown those leaves onto her yard, according to the arrest affidavit. So the woman did what any Florida woman would do. She got out her own leaf blower, the Still BR Series BR200, Or it might have been the Trivac 12-amp electric 3-in-1 blower, mulcher, and yard vacuum. The report didn't specify. But anyway, she got out whatever the hell leaf blower she owns and proceeded to blow the leaves right back across the street into the yard of the neighbors that she was convinced had committed this leaf blower atrocity. The neighbor, as you might guess, came out to confront her, along with his sister and their 87-year-old mother. And as often happens in Florida, a bit of a conflict broke out. The neighbor's sister tried to help, and Ms. Moulton slapped her, which caused things to escalate like a scene from one of those Real Housewives shows, which, by the way, don't we have enough of those shows now? I mean, seriously, we got housewives from Atlanta, from New Jersey, and Beverly Hills all clogging up our TVs.
Not Florida.
Do we really need this fall's debut of the Real Housewives of Poughkeepsie? But seriously, I'm pretty sure we don't. Who the hell lives in Poughkeepsie anyway? Meanwhile, back in Florida, the confrontation escalated. Moulton wound up stabbing the man's sister in the leg with a steak knife, stabbing the man in the arm, and pushing the 87-year-old grandmother to the ground. Although she denies stabbing anyone with a knife, young Moulton was arrested and charged with 2 counts of aggravated battery and 1 count of battery on a person 65 years of age or older, which is apparently a thing. It seems to me that the best solution to problems like these would be just to ban leaf blowers altogether. I know. That'd mean Bubba would have to get a different job where he might actually have to work, and it would mean you could never get those leaves off your lawn.
The other way to do it, you could put a disclaimer in the warranty, the booklet that came with the leaf blower. It said, caution, it may blow steak knife into other people. You're off.
But just as I was thinking that if we banned leaf blowers, you could never get the leaves off your lawn, I thought, wait, there just happens to be a handy invention made for exactly this purpose. My dad taught me to use one at a very young age, and I became a leaf-clearing fool. It's called a rake. Thank you. Inexpensive, requires no gas, makes very little noise, and won't wake up your neighbors when you decide that 6:15 a.m. is the perfect time to clean your yard.
I've got 2 things on this, but go ahead.
I have a lawn
that
I take care of.
Yeah.
And I get leaves on my lawn.
Yeah.
I mow over them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then they become tiny pieces of
leaves.
They
get mulched up right into the lawn.
Perfect.
With clippings and everything. The leaves that are on my driveway, they get blown onto the lawn before I drive over them with the lawnmower.
Which gets mulched.
Who the hell, blows off their whole yard?
Yeah, exactly.
Come on, people.
It's just, I think people just enjoy taking this thing and aiming it at leaves. That's the only thing I can figure.
Well, yeah. Have you never held one of those
feel like
power
a stormtrooper or something?
Those power blowers? But my question is this guy is so aggravated with leaf blowers, but why does he know the model numbers of both of these types? And then
because I do my research.
Cruze has a very specific set of skills.
Thank you. Thank you. Now listen, if you take this revolutionary tool called the rake, and the people who live across the street from you leave their leaves in your yard, like Mrs. Moulton assumed had been done to her, right? You can always just rake them right back across the street into their yard, and they probably won't even hear you do it, unlike if you used a leaf blower. But even if they do hear you, and they want to make an issue out of it, I'm pretty sure a rake would also make a reasonably effective weapon if you need to battle an unarmed 87-year-old woman.
Absolutely.
Just saying.
This sounds like a movie, by the way.
Reporting live from the Sunshine State.
They'll make it into 3 parts and make up a whole romantic section of it, too.
That's right.
Yeah, what was
There'd be a romance
that didn't
in there.
actually exist.
Yeah.
There was a movie with Will Ferrell and I believe it was the football coach from the Chicago Bears back in the day. Mike Ditka. Yeah, Kicking and Screaming was the movie where he was blowing leaves into his neighbor's yard. He's like, I got to do it. I just got to do it. That's what that reminds me of.
See, there's something about a leaf blower that once you have that in your hands, you're encouraged. It just makes you want to annoy people.
Here's a question for you. If the tree is in your neighbor's yard and the leaves fall on your yard, is it okay to blow them back into the neighbor's yard?
Absolutely.
Since it was from his tree?
No, I just put a price tag on each leaf and bill the neighbor.
And then you might wind up on Drinking News. Okay, Ian, we got so wrapped up in this conversation about leaf blowers, which you know is something that I really struggle with, and I just absent-mindedly picked this up and took a sip and went, holy crap. So let's back up here. This is Oddsides. Tell me the info on the beer can here.
This is the Imperial Mayan.
Okay. So what does it say this is all
Bourbon
about?
barrel aged Imperial Stout with coffee, cinnamon, nutmeg, and habaneros.
Habaneros.
It's like mole.
Inspired by Mexican
is.
hot chocolate, it is carefully blended with Dutch chocolate, coffee, cinnamon, nutmeg, and habaneros, which will leave you with the perfect balance of chocolate and heat.
I'll tell you, just this last week, my wife and I went over and had a couple of happy hour drinks and some mole at Xochi downtown.
Yeah.
And man, their mole is good, and that is what this reminds
Mole
me of.
is
yeah,
good.
that is what this reminds me of.
I don't care for it.
So,
So very interesting. So tell me why. What is it about this that doesn't do it for you?
I mean, I can make a better product than that.
Oh, very interesting. So
the
so
gauntlet
what would
has
you-
been
Man, don't
thrown.
be blowing leaves at somebody.
So what would you do differently? How would you make it better?
I mean, okay, so in my head, okay, yes, I mean, it is delicious. It does have flavor to it. But I made something at Ready Room where I made a non-alcoholic version of a stout. And I put some mezcal into it. And it was 10 times better. It had more flavor. Like it was very
It wasn't non-alcoholic once you put mezcal into it.
Right. I mean, but once I brewed the beer and then I put everything together and carbonated it, it was a mezcal.
So you added mezcal to the
Yeah.
beer. What'd you call that?
I have no idea. It's on my gallery. I forget. We made so much over
Yeah.
the past
Over
year. I
300.
just don't remember.
And how did it go over? Did people like it?
It sold out, I believe.
Wow, nice.
So this reminds me of that, but I'm not a big fan of. I'm just not a big fan of it. Like Ian said, it's just not for me. I'm not saying it's bad.
I love all of the way that the flavors all kind of combine. I will say, as I continue to sip it, the one thing I don't like about it is the habanero. I just
I like
am
that.
It needs to
not
mellow out.
crazy about
I like
hot
that.
in my beer.
I am never a fan of
I like hot food.
like that kind of heat spice in a drink in general. It just now it works sometimes, and it's not undrinkable. Like this tastes fine. Eureka Heights makes one called Mu Caliente,
Muy caliente, right?
which is also good.
Yeah.
and drinkable, but it's not something I reach for. I've had jalapeno infused vodkas and all kinds of stuff like that. And again, just in my drinks, and I love spicy food. And
Yeah,
it's
me
hard,
too.
It's hard to make it too spicy for me. That's not necessarily a challenge, but I do love that level of spice. But in my drink, it's not my favorite thing. This, however, is pretty good. I wouldn't reach for it again just because of that, but I certainly wouldn't turn it down because of that either.
Well, I will say, you remember though, sometimes when you put these spices, this heat spice into drinks, sometimes it's a disaster. Do you remember that Dos Equis Mexican Pale Ale that we had on the show?
yeah.
That's one of the worst beers I've ever tasted.
one was that?
It's Dos Equis Mexican Pale Ale, and it's brewed with peppers,
S,
and it's horrible.
to put it in the vernacular, es no bueno.
Now, what you could do with this beer, though, is make a killer hot chocolate riff.
I bet. Well, so No
little
Label
rum
put
to
out
it.
their Don Jalapeno. Do you guys remember that?
I do remember the
Yeah.
no label.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I bought a 6-pack of that.
Did you like it?
And no, not really. I mean, it's an okay beer, but it's kind of like this. It's like I just don't like that kind of spice in my beer.
It's a Don Jalapeno.
But I will tell you, I made badass brats with it.
Oh yes,
I
you
was going
talked
to say
about that.
cooking.
Oh yeah,
I was
no,
gonna
it
say
made
cooking.
badass brats.
Yeah,
It
I
was
bet
good.
it did. I bet it did.
Or you just reduce this down and put it on your ice cream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that idea.
Rocky
yeah.
Road?
Yeah, I do. See, I'm a guy. My favorite kind of ice cream is just a really, really good vanilla with something on top of it. It can be just as simple as chocolate syrup, or maybe something like this would be.
I've
Pretty
been known
awesome.
to just pour whiskey on my ice cream.
That would be good too. And they even made didn't
Yeah, no.
Ben and Jerry's or somebody do a whiskey ice cream?
It wouldn't surprise
I
me.
think so. Yeah, a
So-
bourbon ice cream. I think.
So
it is.
so wrapping up this beer, the only thing I don't like about it is like what you
Spice.
said is I don't like the spice, the habanero aftertaste. I usually want something to drink after I have that spice stuck in my mouth from something I ate.
But I think the spice would be inviting if it was a little more smoky, like if it was smokier. Like it would
Maybe.
add that another savory element to it.
Think
to where
like
you
a-
go, I don't mind it.
Makes
Like a fuller,
Think of the
full-strength
mezcal
cigar.
that you put in the one that you made, right? Yeah.
For my
Because
palate.
there you've got the smokiness and the heat, but the heat isn't habanero heat. It's going to be more just the smoky heat of the of the mezcal, right?
Right.
So,
I have to say, quality product, good flavors overall, but again, spicy with the habanero. If you like that kind of spicy,
clearly
you're
some
probably
people
gonna
really like
this,
that,
yeah.
and so I would like this better without.
I don't.
that at all.
I get the spice from the habanero. I don't get a distinctive habanero flavor
Agreed.
out of it
Agreed.
as well.
There's
like
just some heat there that
some
is
of
a
them
pepper
will have
heat.
that, and also at the same time, it's not an obnoxious heat.
No.
It's not. It's actually kind of a nice warm kind of thing coming in. But again, I'm just not a big fan of the heat in the.
This would pair up great with a cigar, wouldn't it?
Oh yes, it would.
Especially on the lighter side, yeah, something with a Connecticut wrapper, light to medium cigar.
Mm-hmm.
This would go really, really nice with.
So, Ian, we've got one more to try, and it's this beautifully labeled can from the Fourth Tap.
The label on
Brewing
this
Co-op.
can is, I mean, this can, like, when you stare into this label, it's like a reflection of yourself.
Yeah,
Like,
how
it
about
captures
that?
your soul.
You got to
a little
wonder
bit.
how they do that. You know,
I mean, I think they were going for
well,
Braincake on that one.
It's pretty amazing.
brain
And,
cake, double cake.
For those of you who just listen and don't watch the show, then you'll just
Josh.
never understand this label.
Well,
Yeah.
that was actually on tap.
Yeah, that was on
So
tap.
at Premium Draft, they have a canning machine.
Oh, so they can
have
can something
growlers
right
and
off
all-
the
so
tap.
they canned it. That's why
Okay.
the label's there.
I'm gonna go visit those people. That sounds fun.
It's a nice small shop.
Adam, what was the name of that place? You got me some beer once from that place that was over. They're closed now, but they had it was all taps and growlers, and you would just go in and tell them which one you wanted to. Once you bought a growler,
I think
you
it was
kept
called Growlers, wasn't it?
I think it was. I think it was.
that was that one on Wa, right?
Yeah, and once you kept it, you would bring it back, and they
Yeah,
would
they
fill it
would
with,
fill it, yeah.
with
I have
what's
quite the
next.
collection of Growlers at my house.
Do you?
Whatever happened to that place? Why did they go?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. I guess they weren't doing enough business. I don't know. But man, they had some interesting and awesome local and regional beers on tap there.
I bet you they would have done well if that were right at the height of the pandemic. They would have done.
Oh
extremely
yeah,
well.
big time, big time.
Timing's everything, right?
Especially if you could pull
There's
up
still-
and do
there's still
like
the
a
one on-
virtual tap, and they just hand it to you. you
There's
know?
still the one on what's the one on Stewwood or Stewmont or whatever.
That's Premium Draft.
That's the
That's
Premium
where this
Draft
is
one.
from.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's, the
what
one
this
we
one
went
is,
to.
right? Yeah.
Those guys are so funny. I went in there. I had a keg and I needed a keg handle. I needed the pump and the handle, right?
Yeah.
So I went in there and I said, "Hey man, can I rent one of those?" And the guy in there, I guess, was confused and thought that I got my keg from them. He's like, "No, those are free." And he just hands it to me. And he walks off, and I was like,
All right. I'm not
so I took it home.
My new favorite spot.
So I took it home and I used it for my party and I brought it back. And this other guy was there and I was like, I'm pretty sure I accidentally got this for free, but I wanted to make sure you got it back. And he yells to the other guy in the place, he's like, "Hey, this guy brought this
Stop
back."
giving away.
He goes, "Thank you for that." I was like, "Well, I appreciate you guys letting me borrow it. I don't
So,
mind paying for it if you need me to." So I paid him the difference, but it was a funny moment.
So can I get a free beer? You know, just for
Right?
Since I'm such a good citizen, you know.
You should just reach in the cooler and grab one. Like, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, right.
So Ian, tell us what it says on the little card that was hanging. From
So
this
on the
beer.
can it says,
Hey, you know what?
And then-
this may be the first can we've had in a
And
while that doesn't say that doesn't have the
According
government
to the
warning.
Surgeon
According to the
General.
Surgeon General, yeah.
so this is Fourth Tap Brewing Co-op. Highland Scoundrel is the name of this. It's a Scotch
Oh, I
ale
love it
style.
on the nose. Oh my goodness,
It's good. So Four Tap is actually out of Austin.
Oh my God.
So it's the description on this one
It is a
rich,
malty beast.
Yeah.
I love that.
the rich malty ale with malt peated in house, dangerously strong and dangerously delicious. 10% ABV.
Ian,
10% ABV, 20
what was
IBUs.
what was the ABV on that Mayan stout that we had? Does it say on there?
It's an Imperial. It's got to be around the 10.
Doesn't.
Got some heat to it. That's
Well,
one.
this
Wait, almost no. No, doesn't say it.
well,
Oh, 11%. There it is, way
11%.
down there. at the
Okay.
bottom.
So, and this one you said is 10.
10.
It's you can tell it packs a punch though.
Absolutely.
It just has that feeling to it. You know you're drinking something.
This is unapologetically
Oh, wow.
rich and malty.
yeah,
I
and you're a
love this
malt
beer.
guy.
Yes.
Yeah, this is quite delicious. Quite delicious.
This is, I'm so amazed at how many places I walk up to and ask for something malty. And you'd figure, and this has happened at like Moon Tower and other places that are renowned for like all the beers they have on tap, and the first thing they say is, "Well, we have this IPA."
Okay.
I'm sorry, but malty is the exact opposite of what you just suggested.
Yeah. So let me ask you this
There's no
question.
M in IPA.
So that's one of those questions where if I say I want something malty and you suggest an IPA, I completely and immediately lose all respect for your knowledge.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
like you just
We have Abadillo.
right.
So let me ask you this: at a place like the Ready Room, obviously your customer is going to be a little more of an experimental drinker by nature, based on what your cocktails.
Yeah.
Not every one, but overall,
They're out for an experience.
Overall,
absolutely.
people who are looking for something interesting and different, you're the kind of place that they go, as opposed to the corner bar that the best, only interesting beer they have is Shiner Bock.
Right.
So, with your clientele and your beer menu, what styles sell best
For beer?
for beer?
That's IPAs.
I hate to say it, IPAs.
Oh,
But
IPAs.
surprisingly,
Nothing wrong with that.
we've been getting a very big hit on just basic domestics. Just
Really?
your Yinglings, your High Lifes. They've been really selling because
Beyond that, and beyond IPAs, what's next? Is it the darker beers, stouts or porters? Is
stouts and porters have been selling when we had the freeze. Because when it gets cold, people do tend to go darker.
Yeah.
But now people are actually gravitating towards more like Pilsners and Kolsch's.
Pilsners and lagers have been very
Just so you know,
popular over
I
the
will
last year.
drink Scotch ales, stouts, porters. I will drink those
110
floating down the
degree heat.
river in 110 degrees.
Yeah, I know you will.
I don't care.
You're that guy.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man.
Yeah.
That's why I picked that one up, because I was looking for a Bellhaven.
This
That's one of my favorites.
is beautiful.
I like the Bellhaven, yeah. This is quite good. Quite good. It's
Not
just,
your style.
But it's a style I enjoy. It's not a style I drink regularly, but it's a style I really enjoy, and it's so great for me to be able to find my favorites in my style, in styles that aren't necessarily my go-to. I drink IPAs and Pilsners the most, but when I'm ready for a stout, when I'm ready for a Scotch ale, I want to drink one of the good ones.
one
of the great ones.
This has so much bready kind of notes to it. Like this could have come out of a bakery. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Like the
abs-
shepherd's pie dough.
Yeah,
That's
it's
just
so
very
good.
Yeah, it's really good. Of course, the other thing about these beers is that because of the ABV, you can't necessarily sit and have these all evening.
Well, you could, but
You
you'll
could,
end up
but
on
only-
Drunken News.
Yeah,
Challenge accepted.
that's exactly right. Well, this is really terrific. I think it's very worthwhile. So this is one, again, that they have on tap there.
Yes.
But you said the brewery is from Austin. Is that
From
right?
Austin, yeah.
Yeah, very impressive. I'd just like to point out, by the way, that as a Houston, Texas resident, I was thrilled at the list that we looked at several weeks ago that talked about the great places to, the great beer cities.
Yeah.
And that Houston was the Texas city that made that list. And I was
That's
so
what I'm
happy
talking about.
because I feel like we're often, and listen, I have nothing against Austin. I love the town. I love the breweries. I love their whole spirit. But I feel like Houston always gets overlooked because of Austin.
I was thinking about that. I feel like Houston gets overlooked a little bit because when you look at the list of breweries in Houston, that's one list. But if you look in Houston area,
That's a much larger
because
list, yeah.
Well,
if you're
there's
looking
over
at a list,
60
if you're not
breweries in the greater Houston area.
if you're
There is.
not from Houston and you don't understand that Cody and Woodlands and Cypress and
Yeah.
and
Bay Area.
Even Pearland.
all
yeah,
that,
the Bay Area, Pearland,
Galveston now, too, right?
oh, some great breweries.
yeah,
in
Missouri
Galveston.
City, Sugarland, all that is all just part of it.
It really
Even though
is.
it's not technically, it's all just part of it.
There's so much good stuff.
But if you're
happening.
just looking at a list, you don't see all those to understand that that's all encompassed in our area.
I mean, we had No Label on the show here recently. They are putting out some excellent
Absolutely.
beers.
Absolutely.
I mean, and they're almost thought of, they're almost like the next level past St. Arnold. Like St. Arnold is doing great work, but because they've been here for so long,
Yeah.
you often don't think of them the same way you think of, the latest new thing.
Right, they're
But
standbys, yeah.
Boy, are they doing great beers.
I know. I've been a big fan recently of 11 Below. Man, they're just silently
Below's
crushing
killing
it.
They're killing it.
Like their
yeah.
Be Someone.
Absolutely, that's a
their
great
honey
beer.
wheat. Their Goat Getter.
That Goat Getter is
Bach,
terrific.
Have you had that?
I haven't had the Bach. No.
It's a seasonal, so it's
called
not going to be
Goat
around
Getter.
for a
If
long
you see
time.
it, get it.
Yeah, it's called Goat Getter, and
Which,
I
by
just
the way,
Outstanding.
I've got a red in there from 11 Below for you guys.
Oh,
so
very
after the
nice.
show, y'all feel free.
Oh, nice.
Oh, very good, very good. So speaking of after the show, it's getting very close to that time. We need to take a break. When we come back, not only will we wrap things up, but we also have got to get to what we promised, which is to tell you how to keep your suit from smelling like cigars after you've had one. So stand by. We'll give you those helpful tips, and we'll say goodbye in just a moment.
All right. I'm curious about this suit tip. That's something that we can follow.
Also, Bruce mentioned Gary check. Bill Murray.
Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting, our program all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. I found an interesting article on a website called InsideHook.com, and the thing that caught my attention is it opens up. It's about the headline is "Tips from Tailoring Professionals on How to Freshen Up Your Suit After a Cigar," and of course this could apply to, not just a suit,
right,
but
not
yeah,
just
just
suit.
if you're wearing a shirt and some slacks or jeans or whatever.
I mean, a
it can
tracksuit
apply
is
as
still
well.
a suit.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for
It's a
pointing
Russian
that out.
suit.
Thank you for pointing that out. The reason I got so interested in this article is that the first line in it says, "A recent visit to Stanza dei Sigari, a frozen-in-time cigar bar in Boston's North End, brought back the forbidden pleasures of an indoor smoke." I love that place. I used to go there when I lived in Boston,
Nice.
and it is totally frozen in time. It's like it was built back in the 50s and 60s and has not changed. And it's in the Italian neighborhood, the North End in Boston, and it's just you got to go there if you go to Boston, because it's not like a tourist attraction type of cigar bar. It's like an old world
Like
cigar
real
bar.
deal.
And it's absolutely awesome. So anyway, I got interested in this because of that, and the article talks about dealing with the day after tobacco smell that can't be cured by a washing machine cycle can be enough to spoil the fun sometimes of smoking indoors. So he sought out clothing professionals to tell him the best ways to get the smoke smell out of your clothes if you've been indoors
I
smoking.
mean, does it involve patchouli and a leaf blower? Because that would be amazing.
Thankfully not. So he spoke to Paleo Maturano, the founder of the tailoring business in New York City, and he said he began with the wisest course of action. To begin with, he says, don't smoke indoors. So, okay, that makes sense. But if you have, and you need help with this, he said, my recommendation is to isolate the garment, remove it from the closet or wardrobe, and keep it somewhere where it can air out for, like 24 to 48 hours. That's the first thing. In addition, he says, good old-fashioned clothing brush can work better than fancy aerosols or cleaning services. He said, brush the garment thoroughly upon returning home, and again before you put it back in the closet. I'd avoid spraying the garment with any scent masking chemicals, and definitely avoid sending it to the cleaners. In general, he says, we tend to over dry clean our garments, and it's often an unnecessary stress on the garment, especially in this case when the issue can be effectively addressed with a simple airing out and some vigorous brushing. He also says, keep an eye out for ash and embers. Make sure you brush that stuff off if it's gotten there. And he says, I've seen far too many instances when clients come to me with trousers that look like Swiss cheese. I'll say I do have a couple pairs of sweatpants with some nice burn holes in them from a badly timed fallen ash. He says, I'm just looking for. I'm looking for what he said about this. Said hang your clothes in open air for at least 12 hours, then spray a product that I found some time ago in Milan, a deodorant safe for closets and therefore gentle on clothes, and other recommendations. I will just say, in my experience, Febreze works pretty well. Like, it really does. Now I've noticed this about my apartment. When you come in the front door of my apartment, there's a coat rack, sort of a line of 5 or 6 hooks hanging right by the door, right to the left. And that's where I tend to hang up my hoodies that I wear if I'm outside smoking when it's cooler, right? So I've noticed that over time, when you walk in the door, the apartment smells a little like somebody's been smoking in there, but it's not from that. It's from those hoodies.
From the
there.
hoodies, yeah.
So, yeah, every week or so, come by, just give them a good soft spray with Febreze, has completely eliminated that problem. And I've used Febreze before on suit jackets. Back when I was in the radio business, sometimes I would go out on my lunch break and like have something to eat and smoke a short cigar in the car with the top down during lunch. And then I would always have a little bottle of Febreze and spray my jacket down before I went back in. That worked pretty well for me. So I know they're saying don't use the aerosol sprays, but I would still say the best results I've found have been with Febreze or store brand Febreze.
I've
It's
heard
just as
leaf
good.
blowers work as well too.
Yeah, you set up a little patchouli incense thing, you hang your suit behind it, and then you can take a leaf blower.
Yeah, yeah. I think that'll work. To me, patchouli
the worst.
Patchouli makes a statement,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that statement is, "I do not enjoy bathing." That's the statement that patchouli makes. And I've the
I
first
got a friend I got to tell that to.
yeah, and when I see the guy now, I can't imagine that he's still this way. But very early on in his career, I had the opportunity to interview Lenny Kravitz, and boy, did he have a 7 or 8 day case of BO
Little
covered
bit
with
of
a
reek
little
going on.
patchouli going on. He was as nice as he could be, and he's incredibly talented.
Well, I'll give everyone out there a tip. You know
Yeah.
how if you don't want mosquitoes on your body, you spray yourself with mosquito spray, right?
Yeah.
If you don't want me around, all it takes is patchouli.
Yeah,
and you
spray-
don't have
just-
to wear it. You could just put
just put
a incense or whatever like that. But man, I will like boomerang right off of that.
I'm totally with you. It's like burning a mosquito coil for Ian. you know?
Yes.
And I'm the same way. Peter and Cody, thank you guys so much for being on the show today.
thanks for
This-
having us.
This has been an absolute blast, and
You
it
helped
was
us cover all the tough, smart issues.
Yeah, that's right.
right.
Like leaf blowers. No, but it was really interesting doing beers with you guys because I was expecting that we were going to do cocktails, and so this is a really nice change up. I enjoyed that. Tell us again the name of the new restaurant,
Mapojong.
Mapojang, and it's in the location where Ritual was, correct?
Same location, yeah.
Okay, so
So
it's
that's
in the
stewed
Heights.
wood at White Oak.
At White Oak, yeah.
And then right across the parking lot is the Ready Room.
Is the Ready Room,
And it
absolutely.
is a great place to go for interesting and diverse
been there a while.
cocktails.
Cocktails, wine jazz. Yeah,
And we've established that the beer list is pretty strong, too.
yeah
So,
we try.
Yeah.
Just don't forget to make an
I
appointment,
love
right?
it.
On the weekends,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
So tell me about that. Are there times when you do need to make an appointment?
Yeah, so on the weekends we have our house band, which is Tribeca. People book their appointments on our website for tables, bar seats, the whole
Right,
nine.
right.
We don't allow like inside, like walking around. It's everyone's got a seat. I would book out about a week and a half out because we do get packed, and it's a great time. People
And-
really do enjoy themselves.
And
over
during
there.
the week, like Tuesday, Wednesday, you can
walk
walk
on.
in.
Wednesday,
you're all
Thursday,
good.
it's a walk-in thing.
All right,
Thursdays
cool.
we have our jam sessions, walk-in. It's fantastic.
Love it. Well, you guys have done such a great job over there, and again, I haven't been since before the pandemic, so I'm overdue. And I got to try some Korean barbecue too because I love that.
And we even taste
So-
some country music too, you know.
So, how is your country band going, Ian?
Country band's going along nice. We're playing the rodeo next week, actually.
Are you
So,
really?
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Playing, we got a tent out there that we're playing, and I've got to get that information to Miss Liliana so she can come by and see me.
So, what's your favorite? So, just for anyone who doesn't know this, Ian's not necessarily got a background in country music, so,
Not so much.
you had to learn a lot of country songs to do
I
this,
had
right?
to learn a ton.
So, what's your favorite country song you guys play?
There
Tulsa
it is.
Time's pretty fun.
Tulsa Time.
It's also one of the absolute easiest ones to play, but that has nothing to do with it being my favorite. I like some of
I
the
could probably-
classic country stuff.
I could probably play bass on.
We do a
Tulsa
John
Time.
Pardee song called Heartache Medication. I kind of
Yeah.
like that. It's a fun one. We have actually a bunch of originals. My favorites that my band plays is the original stuff, actually.
Cool,
So
cool.
that's a lot of fun.
All right. Well, thank you guys again for being here. This was a very fun show. I enjoyed it. The beers were just, I thought almost all of them were just absolutely sensational, and the ones that weren't were at least interesting. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
so that's all you can ask for, really.
Absolutely.
Thanks to Adam on the Wheels of Steel. Thanks to Mary for putting the show together. Coming up next week, right here on Smokin' and Toastin', you won't have to go far because we have got a show for you. And I'm stalling because my calendar won't flip over to monthly here. Oh, yeah. Jordan Davis will be joining us. He's with
From Heaven's Door, yeah.
Yeah, that's Bob Dylan's whiskey. So we're very excited about that. And then Sean Anger with Fox and Seeker joins us the following week. Sean was
I'm
here,
excited about
if you
that.
remember, when we did the Great Martini Challenge, which was a lot of fun. And his company makes some really good vodka, some really good gin. And so I'm really excited to see what
Well,
he's
we
got in store
talked
for
on
us.
that show about he was doing a barrel-aged gin, and I told him how much I like those. So he reached out to me last month and said, hey, I got the barrel-aged gin ready. How can I get it to you? And I was like,
By mail.
let's do a show.
Yeah.
So, come
Love
on.
it. So Brandon Choate with 5 Points Distilling is coming up on the 10th. And on the 17th, I'm hoping Adam's here because I know he's going out of town that day. But you're here for the show? All right, on the 17th, we're going to do an Irish whiskey blind taste test. Because the 17th is St. Patrick's Day.
So we're doing
what a
our show
perfect time.
Yes.
On St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, we're doing a show on St. Patrick's Day, Irish whiskey
And I'm
blind
off
taste
on
test.
Friday.
That's probably a good thing
Yep,
since
there you go, 'cause it's on a
Thursday will be
Thursday.
a blind
We will
blind
be
taste
finding
test of
out
Irish
what to
whiskey.
do with a drunken sailor.
Thanks everybody for being here. Smoking and Toasting is coming to you every week. We do the show live at 1 o'clock on Thursdays, and we hope you will be here to enjoy it with us. Thank you, and as we like to say here on the show, cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I give one.